I'm Charlotte Lamb, here in Oviedo, Spain for the 2023 Princess of Asturias Awards. Today we're talking to the winners of the Concord category, Mary's Meals, a non-profit organisation based in the small Scottish town of Dalmally. But its founder's big heart means it has an even bigger reach. Mary's Meals' main objective is to provide daily meals for school children. It operates in 18 of the world's poorest countries. Joining me now are two of Mary's Meals Africa directors, Amina Idi-Swidi from Kenya and Panji Chipson Kajani from Zambia. First of all, congratulations guys, and thank you for coming on the program. How does it feel to be recognised with such a prestigious award here in Spain?
I would start by saying that as Mary's Meals, we feel very honoured and we are humbled to be recognised for the Concord Award. We don't take it for granted. It's because of all the support that we get from all over the world, from different types of people.
Yeah, just to add on what Panji has said, I am also excited. The award Concord means bringing people together. And when you look at our model as Mary's Meals, we work with communities and volunteers. So I am so excited because it's aligned to even the name Concord. I'm glad to be here.
Now, the origins of Mary's Meals is quite remarkable, with CEO Magnus McFarlane Barrow moved by what he saw happening in Bosnia in the 90s. So he and his brother collected aid and then hand-delivered that. I want to know what your story is. What brought you to Mary's and why you work in this mission?
So Mary's Meals has a very clear vision, which is to provide one meal at a place of education. Normally when I'm asked that question, I always turn it the other way around and say, what has made me stay for all this while? Where I'm working at the moment, in Kenya, in Turkana, it is a place that has been marginalized for many years. I've been able to see the impact in real time since 2018 when we started in that particular region to now. So I'm really honored to be in Mary's Meals. Yeah.
And you, Panji?
By training, I'm an educator. So I get inspired always when there are interventions that want to bring education to the children. I am also a Malawian by origin, and Mary's Meals school feeding started in Malawi, and I saw the benefits firsthand. Possibly this is one of the few interventions in the world whose results can be seen almost instantly. And that has kept me going for the past 12 years.
Well, speaking of results, the awards ceremony here has recognised you for an innovative and effective operating model that allows for optimal use of resources. So can you talk me through this non-profits model and how it's different to some others?
We pride ourselves in anchoring everything we do in community participation, which in turn out to community ownership. I would like to state a good example of, the recent year of 2020 when COVID happened. All the schools had been locked down, right? And so we work in very marginalized communities where we knew that when we come back after COVID, we will come back to a dead community, right? So we were a bit conflicted on how we could be able to go forward. So what happened is we partnered with the community, who are the ones who came up with a model to allow us to continue feed when the children were at home.
Well, that actually brings me to my next question, Panji. It's been a tough couple of years globally, and we know there is cost of living has increased and there's a rise in inflation. So I want to ask you, given the events of the world, from the pandemic to the war in Ukraine, how has that changed or impacted the mission of Mary's Meals?
Fortunately, because of the low-cost model that we use and the good stewardship that we apply to all the resources that we get, even though there has been this turbulence in the global economy, people have still trusted us. And because they've still trusted us, they still come forward with these little gifts. And when we aggregate them, we are still able to keep the promise to the children. So we are so grateful to people from all over the world for still trusting us, even with the turbulence in the economy. globally.
But the plight of food insecurity is increasing around the world, and even as we speak, there's a humanitarian crisis unfolding in the Middle East. So I want to know about the future of Mary's Meals.
Right now in this space that we're in, I'm glad you mentioned that, there's crisis, inflation that is happening. Our first priority as Mary's Meals is to keep the promise to the children we currently feed. So we try and do that as much as possible. So for example, for this year, we've experienced high inflation in food. But our focus has been to keep the promise to these children, right? Our focus, of course, is to also grow, but our first priority is to keep promise to these children that we currently feed at the moment.
Yeah, so just to add on what Amina has said, Mary's Meals is a needs-focused program. We recognize that there are a lot of children that are in need of food out there. And because of that, we have to have a robust way of targeting so that we can reach the most vulnerable. And we believe at the moment we are reaching the most vulnerable. And because we want to reach the most vulnerable, we are continuously assessing and reassessing so that if there are opportunities and if there are resources, indeed, we should reach those that are in need, like the situation we are talking about in Gaza. But we do not have immediate plans to go there now, but we are monitoring the situation very, very closely.
And probably my last question is, with global issues like world hunger, there can be fatigue among those who aren't directly impacted. They know it exists, but it's not necessarily in their sphere. So how does Mary's Meals and how do you both individually keep it at the forefront of the wider public's mind?
Our fundraising structure focuses mostly on the grassroots people, so individual donors like you and I, and we've seen sustainability in that as opposed to, focusing mostly on institutional donors and all that, where we've seen that they get fatigued pretty quickly. So we've seen that our model of fundraising really sees to it that we can be able to continue to inspire, and there's limited donor fatigue when you look at it that way.
The journey that starts with one step but can end up with thousands of miles. So what we desire is that we share the story of joy, that comes with school feeding. We believe that school feeding or feeding plus education is equal to hope. And when we share that story, we create disciples like yourself, and you go create disciples like us. And by continuously doing that, we are reinvigorating each other now and again to deal with the problem of fatigue.
And what a note to end on. Mary's Meals Africa Directors Amina Idiswidi and Panji Chipson Kajani, thank you so much and congratulations once again. Thanks for joining me on Euronews.
Thank you for having us.